First of all, how many students? How many total employees? When I got to this, I found out in the Southmoreland School District, there's one full-time employee for every 8 students.
Wow.
Ask how many teachers there are, just teachers. You'll get what's called the teacher ratio. Ours is like 1 to 12 or 13, something like that. Ask how many nurses, how many guidance counselors, how many librarians. Folks, these people cost you phenomenal amounts of money, but they're not teaching, okay? How many administrators do you have? The state recommends that it should be 4%. Ours is near 8. Now, there's another question you need to ask. If you have multiple buildings in your district, ask, what is the capacity for this building? Then ask, what's the enrollment in that building? We recently did a study at Southmoreland, and I did this. We found out, I almost can't believe it. In the Southmoreland School District, part of which is in Fayette County, we have room for 860 students that we don't have. 860 more kids that we don't have. That's how much room is extra in these buildings. And we're fighting for those buildings. Ken and I are anyhow. Ask, get a copy of the teacher's salary scale. Their contract is public information. Are you aware of that? You can get the teacher's contract. And they'll give you a salary scale. And it's in different levels, different steps. But the thing you want to find out is how many are at each step. Because I think in most school districts you'll find there are very few at the beginning, and it really starts to get heavy towards the high end of the scale. But you know, in many school districts, you only have to work maybe 10 years to be at the top of the pay. Where is that in business? I mean, I don't know in business, as I said. Now, ask this question. What is the cost of athletics? It's phenomenal. I don't think you have any clue. And I will tell you another thing. There are football stadiums that rival Heinz Field in our schools. Am I right? They're absolutely gorgeous. But that doesn't come cheap. There's a thing called supplemental contracts. Did you know that? There's a teacher's contract, and then there's supplemental contracts. Extra ones. Southmoreland has 121 of them.
Wow.
For example, you have a teacher who teaches French, and she runs a French club. She gets paid to run the French club. These are supplemental contracts. Ask about this. Ask about the pension obligations in your school, which he has gone over, and I talked about. Ask about health care costs. And our district is no different than anybody else's. I believe right now, for family coverage of the health care that we have, it costs us $16,400 a year for one person on family health care company. Then you ask, how much are they paying towards that? Ours pay $100. Okay. Ask how many aides there are in the district. There are 2 kinds of aides. Those that are specially assigned to students under special education regulations, and those who work for the district. Do not be surprised if you find out that your secretaries have secretaries. You want to ask, what are the administrative salaries? Each. What is your debt service? Now, that's a word that you'll see on the thing. You know what debt service is? Your
Interest.
mortgage. Your mortgage. And they are millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And debt service, for example, if you say to the superintendent at Southmoreland, what is our debt service? He'll say it's $36 million. What debt service is defined as the principal plus interest equals the mortgage payment, right? He'll only give you the principal and refuse to tell you about the rest. But the bottom line is, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. Check it out. What is our mortgage? You want to find out how much it costs to educate a student in your school district? Simply take the total budget, divide it by the number of kids, and you'll get a number. And 13,000, 14,000, this is common. I found out that it actually costs more to educate a kid in the public school system than to send them to the Penn State. Right.
Yes.
Think about that. I also did a calculation on my own that a child coming into kindergarten today, by the time they graduate from high school, it'll cost a little under $250,000
Yep.
to get a high school diploma. That's looking ahead. How many secretaries do you have? Clerical. How many support staff? Custodians, maintenance. You need to ask these questions. And a really big one you want to find out is, what is your school district's aid ratio? Do you know what the aid ratio is? The aid ratio is how many cents for every dollar that you spend comes from the state and how much is local. That's called your aid ratio, and it's based on poverty levels. So, how poor are you? How much money are you getting from the state? Southmoreland gets 65 cents of every dollar from the state. So they spend, the rest is local taxation. You need to know that. Find out, looking at your census, your demographic data. I can tell you, I learned this, how many people in Southmoreland are retired, how many children are going to come into school, what is the per capita income, what is the median household income. So when I say to my board, don't raise taxes, it isn't just don't raise taxes, it's don't raise taxes because 15% of our population is living below the level of poverty. You've got to back it up. Back it up. You don't just say it's taxes. Ask what your SAT scores are. Don't confuse this with the PSSA. That's all you hear about. SAT scores are those scores that your best and brightest kids take who are going on to college. Whole different ball game. Look at your SAT scores. Where do they stand compared to the national level? What are you getting for your money? What is your dropout rate? Find this out. Learn that budget terminology. For example, they'll try to say to you, 2,300 is 1.7. You say, wait a minute, don't talk to me in numbers. 2,300 means administration. So the statement is, administration costs $1.9 million. Don't let them buffalo you with this terminology. Stop. Just say stop. Speak to me in language that I understand. Because they always try to do that. Absolute, I guarantee. Again, we talked about how pensions are calculated, and we want to look at your teacher-to-student ratio. I just want to point out to you that if the state comes in and takes over a school district, their ratio, they will not put less than 26 kids in a classroom in regular education. It's one teacher to 26 kids. That's a mandated ratio if the state comes in and takes over. And folks, you don't want the state to come in and take over. If there's any way you can work, and this is why I am trying so hard, I'm trying to save our district. I don't want it to be bankrupt. I want it to survive, to be independent, and not have to be under the guidelines of the state who comes in and they can raise your taxes any level they want. It's a bad setting. It's a bad situation. I mean, it really is. So I'm trying very, very hard to do that. And make no mistake, they do not like me. When I walked in, I told him when I came in, it's not a nice feeling to walk into a room where everybody hates you. But you gotta do it. But you've got to be brave. You've got to be able to stand up and say, it's time to do this right. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe in my heart that we have lost our way. And we've got to get back to what is right and what is solid and what is meaningful. And if you genuinely care about children, you will do what it takes to help them have a healthy, good education. Thank you.